Hey everybody, this is Al Bennett, student here at Stanford University. EDLD744 is our project for our expertise project, and I would like to speak to you guys or present on the transformative role of educational technology in curriculum and instruction. Those are two topics that I really enjoy, and I wanted to go ahead and present on that for this particular project. So, as a way of introduction to educational technology, I want you to kind of think back to how we used to do education. When technology was kind of rolling on the scenes. When I was a student, we were used to computer labs and going here and there and typing classes and whatnot. But those things have kind of changed. There's still some elements of that within education. However, I've been out of the classroom now for roughly 10 years. And with that being said, um, long gone are the days of me asking my class to go to the computer lab on Friday, and we're going to do this web quest. So we're not doing, the old technologies of Edmodo or Moodle, and some of those might still be out and relevant. However, what we're seeing now is more than technology is not an option; it's more of foundation when it comes to technology or when it comes to education. And as leaders, as teachers, as the adults in the building, we have to make sure that our students have every bit of exposure and opportunity to really um, delve into these technologies because they're going to be using technology similar to what they're doing in our classrooms on a day-to-day basis as they matriculate to college, as they might go to the military, as they might go to the workforce. They're going to interact with technology. And there's so many layers to that, and we'll try to get to some of those through this presentation. So the first thing I want us to realize is that um, we have digital native learners. When we were in school, we were kind of in that middle ground where we had technology, but we don't have it like it is now. And so we were able to kind of grasp on to some of it versus the learners that we have now. They are growing up in it, and they see it revolutionize. And even in the last 3 and 4 years with the really big push for AI, and we'll talk more about that. But our learners have grown up in a culture of being digital natives, and so they're accustomed to that technology piece, and they need to interact with it in meaningful ways. And the interactive learning is how they play their games, how they communicate with others, or FaceTime and other things. So we need to translate that to the classroom because it produces and provides a relevance through digital tools, including that multimedia, those simulations, and other things. Another thing that I will say is that educational technology is more than just the hardware. It's bigger than just the Chromebook or the iPads or whatever. Those things are important, and we need to make sure that we're getting the right resource that will help and really contribute to student learning, that will also correlate with our particular network that we have. All those things have to be answered. But the big thing is, it's not necessarily just the hardware because it's more about the strategic, ethical implementation that empowers the learner to be successful in the classroom. So we really want to push those innovative digital tools, such as lectures or Google Classroom or Khan Academy or Padlet. Those are tools that students can use. Now you can use those tools on a multiple set of devices, whether it's a Chromebook or a MacBook or iPad or this or that. However, what we want our students to realize is not necessarily the interaction with the tool itself, but with the ethical representation of themselves in a digital global society. There's a consideration for equity. The last slide, the second bullet, talked about accessibility. And approximately 28% of students, of school age students in the US, don't have the access or the consistent access to home internet or internet at schools. Even in 2025, there are still students that don't have that. Um, and when you consider how connected our world is through technology, we want to make sure that our schools and that our districts have every opportunity or give students every opportunity to be successful, especially if they might not have that resource at home. What are we doing to prepare them and to make them successful? We also have to keep in mind that there are going to be some educators that adopt technology and some that are a little slow to adopt that technology. And with that, if they're a little slow to adopt that technology, they might not be able to infuse it into their classrooms on a day-to-day basis. They might be able to produce a Google Doc or a PowerPoint, something on that lower level there, where they're just substituting writing the assignment for typing the assignment. And though that's good, that's a good baby step. However, we want to make sure that we continue to push our teachers and provide that necessary support for them, that they are able to engage and sandbox with those tools to be effective in their practices, confident in their delivery to students of those practices with technology. Another thing about technology is that it allows the ability to support diverse learners through its valuable resources. So, for example, students with disabilities, they are able to now have access. Barriers are now removed. And I think that is very key and very positive, because it allows for inclusion and it just doesn't assume for equal readiness. Our students come to us with so many different types of abilities, some reading on grade level, some not reading on grade level. But with technology, the exposure to the standard is able to be diverse, and it removes those barriers, and students are now able to really interact on their level that will promote them to the next level through successful practices with technology. That technology assists the student or helps the teacher as well to really make sure that it is differentiated. So, to kind of piggyback off of that again, the impact of technology on teaching practices. I remember years ago when I was in the classroom that there was a particular tool that I used with technology where I would hold up the students. I had the students laminated papers, and it would just have some multiple choice answers on there. And what I would do, and like A, B, C, D, and I would hold that up to a camera on my computer, desktop computer, and it would scan it. And I would already have the students' names already programmed in there, and it had a little code that it read, and it would go straight to them. And what it would do, instead of me looking at their exit slips and just sitting here kind of looking, it allowed me to really, in a quick manner, provide feedback to them the next day, to really say, hey, you know what, I see this as a misconception. So it allowed me to really be able to, I say this, multiply myself in a more efficient and effective way, that I might be able to offer that feedback to students. So with that, though, with technology, there always comes the risk that teachers do curate digital resources, but it has to be done carefully to preserve the instructional quality and the reliability of the learning materials. So whatever information we're pulling, we have to vet it ourselves. And that's a good practice to be able to mirror or model for our students when we pull that resource, and to see, is this a credible website, or is this a credible source of information? So we want to also support that effective technology use. So it comes through the way of PD. So how do we do that? We've kind of been talking on that small level with classrooms, but to kind of go a little bit broader here, we have to be strategic in our implementation with this. And I believe it starts with identifying the goals of your district. Whatever that goal is, or goals, whatever their goals are, you identify those, and then you have a committee that is made up of curriculum and instruction, as well as the technology, IT people, where this more of a camaraderie where we come together to understand, hey, this is a priority for our district. From an instructional standpoint, this is the priority that we have X, Y, and Z. What tool out there fits that, but also fits our technical capabilities, our logistical place where we are right now? So that comes through some systematic planning for technology integration. And then as you find and select those tools, what you have to do is you have to get the teachers on board. You have to get the students on board. You have to get the parents on board. Because if you're trying to make a strategic investment in regards to technology, all parties have to have some buy-in. So instead of just maybe cramming it down the throats of the teachers in classrooms and schools, maybe a pilot program with a class here, a class there, a couple of teachers here, and them really working the kinks out. How does this fit? How do I see myself in this? How do my students interact? What are my parents saying? What all these things can be answered. But you also have to provide the feedback, or that feedback is provided, and it's provided through various frameworks for informed technology selection. So, for example, the Institute for Educational Sciences has a platform or has a framework that districts can work through to be able to collect that feedback to see if these platforms really work and help to guide schools in the adoption of those resources. As this is going on, if the tool is selected, then there has to be PD and continuous evaluation of if that product is effective and if we're using it effectively. So there's a difference. Again, we want to make sure that we're using it effectively, but we also want to make sure that it is effective when we do use it. So again, we want to make sure that our teams are solid. When we are talking about cross-departmental collaboration, where IT is coming together, C&I is coming together, teachers are coming together, students are coming together, parents are coming together to engage and to make sure that this is the right tool, because we're not talking light money when it comes to these resources. So within Hoover City Schools, we are adopting a program called Magma Math. And we did kind of what I just talked about for the last several minutes with that implementation process, where Dr. Robbins, who is our assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction, kind of went through those resources or went through those steps to implement Magma Math. When he first came on several years ago, he noticed that we didn't necessarily have a resource problem. We had too many resources. This school is using this school is using this school is using. It's not necessarily to say it's a bad thing, but what he was trying to do is to get everybody to point in the same direction and move in the same direction. So he began to research on Magma Math and how to implement it. And he saw that this was a viable program that other districts have used and seen incredible results in. So what he did was he looked at data through ACAP, through iReady, through other resources, and made a decision and said, this product seems as if it matches where we're trying to go and move the data to. So he began to contact several teachers, or several schools rather, and for us as administrators, local administrators, to talk to teachers to see who would like to be a part of this pilot program for Magma Math implementation. And this spring we were able to do that, and we saw some pretty good results where even the teacher in my building, she was very, very pleased with that. I also want to say that a part of that piece with professional development is that teachers do need to be trained on these tools. And so the district has hired middle school coaches to assist in that process. We also already have our instructional technology coaches that work. And because of the nature of this rollout, those contracts for those employees have been moved from 9 months to 10 months. So they can get on the ground running and make sure that teachers have what they need as it relates to technology, in particular with this Magma Math. So there comes a place where to maximize the transformative potential of educational technology, we have to have intentional, collaborative, equity-focused implementation. And that comes through the efforts of all stakeholders being involved. And that empowers educators and students with access and skills, giving those students and those teachers opportunities to engage with those tools to make sure that those tools are effective and help students to reach their goals, and that teachers feel good about implementing those tools to provide those meaningful learning experiences. Thank you.